This is the Pop Tournaments podcast. In Pop Tournaments, we take a category of pop culture and let you, the fans, vote on matchups in a single elimination tournament format to determine an ultimate champion. We are here to discuss those results and the upcoming matchups. Thanks to our great community and everybody who votes, let's start the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and motherfucking girls. This is Pop Tournaments, and we're here to do a podcast. I am Jake Wicker, and with us is Ryan Barrett.
What's happening, everybody?
And very, very special guest, Missy S, joining us here today, subbing in. Very, very happy to have you here. One of our most favorite Pop Tarts that we have in the Pop Tournaments universe. Always bringing such wonderful, wonderful opinions. Welcome. How are you doing?
I like your choice of words, opinions, because that's what they are. Like I would say, like 10% expertise and 90% opinions, but it's being appreciated. So.
Yeah. No, that's what we love to do. We're happy to have you here. We missed Jen. She had a birthday over the weekend and ended up in like one of those Freaky Friday situations and body swapped with one of her plants. And we wish her the best. Hopefully, that'll undo itself after like 30 days, like it always does in those movies. 17 again, Freaky Friday,
Vice
13
versa.
Uh-huh.
going on 30.
Wasn't it 24
vice
hours?
versa.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, they were all different times.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up? Hope everybody's doing well. Ryan, what's been going on? I hear you've been a little under the weather, but I hope you're on the mend.
Yeah, I had strep throat for like the first time as an adult. So please
Wow.
excuse me. I'm gonna be trying to like talk as little as possible, and so yeah, I'll probably be a lot more succinct than normal, which will be a great joy to some of you.
And a big disappointment.
And a big disappointment to others, I'm sure.
I'm an elementary school music teacher, so I talk all day long. So I'll try to make up for it.
Awesome.
That's that expertise we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I will I'll let you save your voice, especially for the recos section, because I know you got a couple of good ones. I'm sure being sick, you had time to consume a little media over the weekend. Missy, how's it been going? What's up? So we're, again, happy to have you on the show. We're going to talk a little Prince, and we're going to talk a little pop culture. But like you said, you're a music teacher. Kids, a lot of places going back to school. Has it been going okay for you?
Yeah, I mean, the key word for this year is flexibility. We started out in hybrid, and then we went to DL for November and December, and now we're back in January. Went back to full group, which means I teach about 120 kids a day, with about 5 different things on my face, so including a microphone so they can still hear me. But you just learn to roll with the punches, and it's just kind of different every day, and you kind of just have to have that kind of attitude, yeah.
Did you have a chance to at least relax a little bit over the weekend, enjoy some of the nice weather?
I got to hug my mom for the first time in a year, because we're now both fully vaccinated, and she was. We were both pretty thrilled. So, and then
love to hear that.
We're me and Chris are getting the house all fixed up and ready to sell because we're moving this summer. So
nice.
Pretty busy weekend. Not that restful, but it was good. Yeah.
So that's wonderful, and I will take the moment to say, well, first I gotta ding you for your husband, Chris. That's how we got Missy here. I grew up at competing high schools, but friends with her husband, Chris, and she is a lot smarter at music than he is, so that's why she's here. And
He plays pretty good guitar.
I'm putting it on record.
He can play guitar and he can sing, but he doesn't do it for people. Like, he'll barely do it for me and Henry. Like, he's bashful about it. But yeah,
that's okay. Yeah. And like we saw in your video, you have an extremely talented son.
Yeah,
I'm already jealous of.
We have no idea where he came from. Yeah. So, like, like, we have instruments all around the house. We have music playing constantly. Like, so it doesn't surprise me at all that he loves music. But the fact that he already plays better ukulele than I do, and he just turned 5. It's just insane. And he has perfect pitch as well. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got
recognizes like a perfect C essentially,
and chords too. Yeah. I'll play a chord and he'll be like, "Oh, that's F sharp minor. What's this? That's B flat." Like, we have no idea where that came from. Like, I love music and like I studied it and that's the only reason I'm good at music, because I worked at it. And Chris, loves music too. But it was just kind of kid lottery. Yeah.
Osmosis was happening. Yeah, absolutely incredible. I will say, so I sent it to Ryan before you guys posted it, and he initially thought it was just some YouTube clip that I had found that had gone viral.
No, that's me singing.
It's that good.
Yeah.
That's my voice singing, so I could sing for you right now and you'd know that was my voice.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not fake.
No, I was like, that's a really, really great find. Like, that's such a cool video. And not knowing, because, I feel like, you are a very present member of our little club. So, and when he told me that it was you and your son, it was a very special moment. I thought it was so cool. And I showed it to my wife right after, and she was also very impressed.
I've always appreciated it. I don't want to be that kind of mom that like totally exploits my kid. I don't. I want my kid to be a normal kid. He doesn't need to be a YouTube star.
Not like Mrs. Hanson.
Oh boy. I'm glad you saved your voice for that zinger. So we'll go slightly out of order here. Let's take that moment. Let's talk about some of the Prince songs we missed in this tournament. We could only include 36, and again, Missy, you seem to have a deep understanding of his catalog, so I like that. Anything? I know you had mentioned a couple on the page, but any that you really felt like we dropped the ball on or wish we could have included?
Well, I mean, I don't think any of them are well known, or at least my favorites aren't well known enough to like rightfully make it onto those tournaments. People would be like, "What? Like, what's that?" Like, so a lot of these I'm not surprised at all that they didn't make it, but I can still mention them.
Go, feel free.
I'll mention Beautiful Ones. I know it was a part of the tournament, but that's like one of my top 2 favorite Prince songs of all time. And I know you two had talked about making mixtapes and having that one track that's like, "Yep, I like you." That Beautiful Ones was that for me. And if you had Beautiful Ones on your mixtape, like that was me trying to ensnare you. But I noticed awesome. I didn't put it on Chris's. But I think I knew that I wasn't gonna pull all my old tricks, with him, because I kind of knew right off the bat that he was it. So
nice.
His was 100% original. Yeah. Okay. So but yeah, I'll just mention that right off the bat. Okay. So this one I actually hadn't heard until after he passed. It's Love Thy Will Be Done from the originals. And actually, he originally... Have you guys heard it?
It sounds familiar.
It was originally written for a vocalist called Martika, who had like
Soldiers.
a brief shining moment in like the early 90s or maybe late 80s. And she was from something called Kids Incorporated, which I think was on Nickelodeon way back in the day.
She was a one-hit wonder. She was a one-hit wonder with the song Toy Soldiers.
Soldier. I actually really liked that song when I was a kid. Yeah. But
great.
anyway, he wrote it for her, and like they just collaborated, and he just kind of paged through one of her diaries, I guess, and like pulled out like some lyrics that he really liked, and then he just like disappeared into the wind and like came back with that song like a month later. But I heard his version on the current maybe I guess I don't know, maybe like a year after he passed, and maybe it was around the anniversary of his passing or something. But I remember driving and just being blown away by his version of it. Maybe about 2.5 to 3 minutes into it is like this choir of Prince voices. Like it's like 8 layered tracks of his voice, and it's just astounding. Maybe as a choir dork, I really connected with it. And then just the lyrics. Let's see here. Even when there's no peace outside my window, there's peace inside, and that's why I can no longer run. And I loved that. And it might be religious for him, but it really isn't for me. For me, it's just more about, finding your peace and then just being like, okay, I can be still now. I don't have to keep moving. Like in my 20s, like I had different jobs and different places to live and different boyfriends maybe every 6 months, and like, and like I totally related to that lyrics.
Same.
Like I can be still, So that's my fave of all time. Like listen, like with headphones, listen to like that, just kind of that really vocal spot, kind of right, maybe 2/3 into it.
I'm just gonna dream that I'm under 8 layers of Prince tonight.
Of course he's saying like a bass note and a soprano note. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how big his vocal range was. Like he can sing a whole lot lower than I can, and he's probably can hit like higher than my highest note. Like that's how great a singer he was. So Love Thy Will Be Done. And then you had put sometimes it snows in April, and it's another one for me. Yep, you gonna say something?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay.
I was just gonna say it's a great song, and it definitely became unfortunately more popular after his passing. Because the coincidence that it was also in April. But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, that was one of those other ones where I hadn't heard it until in the last 5 years. Gosh, a couple years ago, my dad passed, and me and my siblings, all of us are Prince fans. We all like different eras. Like my sister's very diamonds and pearls, and my brother, we're all different. But we were getting the subject of sad songs, and my brother had brought up Sometimes It Snows in April, and I was like, how have I not heard that? Like, and so of course, like, I went home and listened to it, and of course was blown away by the sadness, and now I forever connect that with my dad, and so that's another special
one of those songs. Yeah, definitely one of those songs that I still get a little teared up. I remember it was right after he passed. D'Angelo performed it on the Jimmy Fallon show, and he actually had to stop partway through the song as he was performing it. So definitely a mover there.
Right.
Emotional songs. Maybe not, again, like you said, some of these aren't as well known. I had The Cross. It was actually a song that Ryan introduced me to back in the day, but a song, that was played live, at least, it was in semi-regular rotation. Did you have any other ones that you wanted to mention?
Okay, so I'll just mention, I really like, I wouldn't call myself an R&B fan, but I love Prince's R&B songs. Like, Adore is amazing.
Yeah.
It's just like the laid back horns and his falsetto. Anything where he does it in falsetto, I love, because I like to sing along to male falsetto. It just kind of sits really nice in my range. But Adore is amazing, and it's real. I feel like it's really long, but you want it to last that long.
Mm-hmm.
And then two other tracks that are kind of like that are Call My Name and On the Couch. Just really great R&B, like just kind of top-notch R&B.
Mm-hmm.
On the Couch is really funny to me because it's basically, it was from the Musicology album. It's basically a guy like begging his girlfriend not to make him sleep on the couch. It's just kind of, I like it when he shows a little peek of his sense of humor.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree. I love he did have a lot of kind of tongue in cheek, or almost like even in the music video, kind of like winking at the camera for certain lines. And Ryan, was there anything I didn't want to skip you over, but was there anything we should mention?
The first one that came to mind for me that was like just kind of it was on the list till right up until the very end, and now I kind of feel bad that it wasn't on the list.
Yeah.
Is Computer Blue. And
really?
That's not what I expected you to say.
The reason is because, it's kind of, I think, thought of, at least by me, I don't know, maybe not everybody, but it's kind of like the song on Purple Rain that's like the skipper, if there is one. If there is one, Computer Blue, I think, is got to be the one that's like less than. It's like the one that's not a classic, really. If really, like the rest of the album, it's like classic, 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 and then there's Computer Blue, which is just kind of like it kind of sounds like Devo-esque, weird. But
and it got name checked in that Dave Chappelle sketch.
Oh yeah,
they ran.
Yeah,
it
was like a basketball
Blue.
play. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's right. I forgot about that.
Sorry.
And but when we did that little thing last week, our little intro speech, it reminded me that, like, God, that kind of sucks we didn't put that in.
Yeah.
But so that was the first thing I thought of. How about you?
Just real quick, I think, and this is what I thought you were going to say, because it was also on the list.
Oh yeah, I know what
you're
going to say.
I could never take the place of your man.
Yeah, that's the other one.
So like again, just kind of a right on the edge there. Like going back and re-looking at it, I would probably put it in this time. So, but I also I thought, as he was making his resurgence before his untimely passing, I loved some of those songs that he was doing with Third Eye Girl. Fix Your Life Up was a nice, fun, upbeat song. Guitar was kind of a classic, just I don't want to say like one of his absolute best songs, but it was just it proved that, like, at any age he could just pound out a really fun single, something that would just fun to dance to. So yeah, this could have easily been a tournament of 128 songs. So thank you all of you for that. I really quick, as we are a pop culture podcast, I want to take a moment to remember we actually lost two really, really hilarious actors last week. The absolutely fantastic Jessica Walter, and the also just hilarious George Segal. And it's funny because I had just mentioned the Goldbergs a few weeks ago as a recommendation, and then boom, no more pops on Goldbergs. But Jessica Walter. Also, I don't want to miss out. Just Shoot Me. That's on Hulu now for people out there that have Hulu. Just Shoot Me, nice classic 90s sitcom.
he's also so great in one of my favorite comedies of the 90s. He plays the husband of Mary Tyler Moore's character in Flirting with Disaster.
Oh gosh,
which
I
is
forgot
like
about that one.
one
That's
of
a
my
good
favorite
one.
comedies.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's
Ah, I
so
forgot he was in
pitch
that,
perfect
yeah.
in that movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bummer. He's one of those guys that really just adds that extra layer of hilarity, I think. And then Jessica Walter, Arrested Development, Archer. That's what she's known for nowadays. But just a fantastic actress throughout her entire career, whether it was movies, one-time parts on TV shows, or reoccurring roles. She was actually she did the Law and Order trifecta. She was on Law and Order Criminal Intent, and Law and Order SVU. I love when an actor can do the trifecta. But also found out, I never realized she was the mother's voice on Dinosaurs, the ABC sitcom in the early 90s.
Not the mama.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
She was the mama, though. I didn't realize she did that. So, bummer to lose those two. Lucille Bluth, in my opinion, is a top 20 all-time television character. Maybe that's going out on a limb, but yeah, we're gonna miss those two. So we had a question out to the group to talk about some of our favorite local musicians from wherever we may be from. And you guys feel free to chime in at any point, but I don't want to skip over anybody that responded. We had Chantel H. From Texas, loves Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson's the best from Texas. Shane K. I loved. He was very proud of the Kenneth Babyface Edmonds from Indianapolis, Indiana. We love Indianapolis. Jen G had Aretha Franklin from Detroit. Just won the Currents musical road trip tournament, whatever they wanted to call it. Jennifer MT had a lot of Baltimore bands: Animal Collective, Tori Amos, and David Byrne. Nice little collection out of Baltimore there. And then the Flaming Lips from Oklahoma, her adopted city. Brad B had the Cherry Poppin' Daddies in Eugene, Oregon. And nowadays the Violent Femmes in Milwaukee. But that would have been fun to see the Cherry Poppin' Daddies in a little bar like he was describing. Karen A had Rick James, Annie DeFranco, Lance Diamond, the Google Dolls, all from Buffalo, New York. Laurel O had Gregory Porter and less proud Korn from Bakersfield. Gloria R reminded us that the Andrews sisters are from Minnesota. Emily L had Dan Wilson, reminding us all the different projects he's been involved in, from Semisonic on down the road. Missy, your husband was just so happy to talk about Sunset Black, our old high school band. It was a weird, thing because at that time to like get on the local radio station and like have actual shows was a really big thing for garage bands, and we ended up I actually met a couple of the guys when I got one of my tattoos. They happened to be at the same tattoo place as me, and so that was even bigger to that whole group. But yeah, you had a couple of responses. Is there some Minnesota bands that we should be remembering?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I mean, of course, Bob Dylan. Have you guys seen Dr. Mambo's Combo at Bunkers at any point?
Mm-hmm.
So
I know of them.
So yeah, Prince's old drummer from the New Power Generation, Michael Bland, put together a really great group of musicians. Was Margie Cox and Sonny T, who both work with Prince as well, were a part of this group. And Michael Bland has got to be one of the greatest and hardest hitting drums I've ever seen. He's like a really big guy, and like I remember that just doing a sound like a like a sound test. And I remember thinking, like, man, if my head got in the way of his stick, like I'd be a goner. Like that's how hard he hit. It was pretty great to watch. So I don't know if they're ever, bunkers. I think right now I think they're closed right now. So yeah. But if you ever get a chance to see Dr. Mambo's combo, they're pretty fun to watch, and they do a lot of Prince, of course. Polisa. So me and Chris's second date was at the Turf Club seeing Polisa. So wow. I see. I think of Polisa as our kind of our. Every time I hear them, I think of our earlier dating days. Gangs. That one album was just incredible, and I want to hear more. So, yeah. I think Mark Malman's kind of an interesting guy. I like a lot. It was some of his tracks. A Baby Takes It Slow and Fight the Darkness with More Darkness. I like his ballads. And kind of funny. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, he's still in the Guinness Book of Records, right? For the longest consecutive concert.
Like I said, yeah, he's an interesting guy. And actually, it's kind of weird. So I was on Match.com, like pre-Chris, and I ran into Mark. I talked to Mark Malman on Match.com. And like, I was like,
that's something you can always hold over him. You can just be like, hey.
I doubt he even remembers me. But I just like picked his brain because I was like, how many songs do you write in a week? Like, he was like one of the, like, he's like a Bob Dylan where like he just, he's a fountain of songs. Like, they just come out of him. So I just thought he was a really interesting guy.
You should hold it over Chris, though. I would say, like, you should, anytime Chris gets out of line, just be like, hey, no. Mark Mullman's right down the road.
Yeah. But no, like, I was already at the point where I dated enough musicians to know that, like, I didn't want to do that anymore. So
that's why we stopped being musicians.
I was like, yeah, no, I know that road. I'm not going down that anymore. And then Okie Dokie Brothers, they're a children's band, but they're really, like, as an adult, we can listen to them. I know more of the words than Henry does. And we've seen them live, like, a ton of times. And it's really fun to take your own kid to a concert, And they're great.
Right. That's the Grammy-winning Okie Dokie Brothers.
Well, and actually, they're really cool guys, because actually they got nominated this year for their album, Songs for Singin'. And actually, they respectfully declined because of the lack of diversity in their category. Yep. So they're a really cool group of guys. Or a couple of guys. Yep.
Yeah. Great representation from Minnesota.
Last thing, as Chris has a recommendation that he says the new Communist Daughter album, Unknown Caller, is really good.
Oh, I could see that. They disbanded for a while and came back strong, so I love me some Communist Daughter. Ryan, did you have a favorite local act that we should not forget about?
Yeah, I mean, definitely my 1 and 2 would be Prince, number 1, Bob Dylan, number 2, I think, in that order. But, I mean, Bob Dylan, I think, is like such a interesting figure in pop culture and in music and in art. I think that I've like compared him a lot. I've compared Kanye West to him a lot. And I think that people, and I'm like being completely serious about it. Like, I feel like they both had kind of a similar trajectory in their career. Except for now with like the religious stuff. But, and I don't think Bob Dylan
had a religious album.
That's right, he did. In like 84 or something.
Something like that.
But yeah. So, yeah, I think Bob Dylan's amazing. I love Desire. And, he's unimpeachable, I think. But I kind of took this question a little more like personal, and just wanted to talk about some of my the bands that meant the most to me, or the people that meant the most to me, sort of in as far as local artists go. The the first two were kind of more in my mind like a movement, and one was like in my from probably me being 16, so that would be like 97, or I'm sorry, yeah, 97, until I was maybe 24, 25, and that was Atmosphere. And pretty much that whole like Atmosphere and Idea and Abilities and Musab, and like, I mean, the 90s Rhyme Sayers Collective
Right.
days, where they would have like monthly shows at First Avenue where you could go, and it would be like, Atmosphere headlining, but then it would be, you could go, it would start at like, 8, and
Yeah.
it would be just back to back to back to back to back, DJs and rappers who are all like, who all had like long careers here in the local hip hop scene. And it was always just such a cool like meeting of the minds, because that was kind of pre hip hop blowing up into the mainstream as like pop music,
Right.
it was definitely like, post hip hop becoming mainstream, but it was before it really became mainstream, like,
Yeah.
in like 2000, 2001. But
And like you said, it's just so cool, like how much of a collective it was.
it
and
was,
how
it
they
felt,
really did.
it felt like
bring
everybody who was in those walls kind of, it felt like you were all kind of like a collective, or like a brethren,
It felt like an old school neighborhood party, like literally, like where we're all a little bit different, but we're all working together for the same thing.
Totally. It felt like everybody there kind of felt like, family of a sort.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
So those were really fun times, and, I definitely, I still really respect, their first like 4 albums a lot. Like, I think they're really, really great. And, some of the other stuff that Atmosphere has done, Deep Puddle Dynamics, is like one of my favorite rap albums of all time, one of my favorite hip hop albums of all time. And I think he's just like a really,
He's like a Bob Dylan.
They are no, they are a great hip hop duo, and they rep Minneapolis like nobody else,
Yeah.
The other band, kind of right when I was falling off from Atmosphere, I was falling onto the Big Woo. And that was a scene, and that was very much like Atmosphere, a family environment where like
Yep.
everybody in there was like, you could, everybody knew each other. You became friends with people there. Everybody would like go over to each other's houses afterwards and party and stuff. And like, it was a scene for sure. And like, that, their shows at like the Caboose were just insane.
Legendary.
I mean, yeah.
And up in Duluth, they would always do those like Lutz and Mountain shows in the
Oh yeah,
summer.
they did a ton of great festivals, and they did their own festival, the Big Woo Family Reunion,
Yep.
which were some great memories for me there. But it's not that I think I would never put. They wouldn't be in my top 250 bands. But when you're talking
But you're
about the
glad to call
Minneapolis
them-
music scene,
Yeah.
they're like essential to me.
You're proud to rep them. You say they are from my city.
Yeah. But all that being said, the one person I have to mention that I think is probably like my personal favorite and kind of covers both sides of like being a great artist, being part of this local music scene, but also just like I don't know, standing on his music, standing on his own, is Mason
If
Jennings.
you say Jake Wicker, I'm gonna cry.
No, Mason Jennings.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, especially like his first 3 or 4 albums are just like so mind blowing. And I mean, they just meant so much to me at the time. They really like kind of, I don't know. They kind of blew my mind.
I get it.
Really. So
I get it.
I'm gonna stop talking now because it's been a lot of talking.
You reminded me of a bunch. I had only one to add initially, but I'm gonna roll through 3 really quick. So in reverse, since you said Mason Jennings, it reminded me of Jeremy Messersmith, who I actually got to see. They had a co-headline, or not co-headlining, but a dual bill. That was an amazing show that me and Kaylee got to see at First Avenue. But then when you said the Big Woo, that reminded me of Wookie Foot. Do either of you remember Wookie Foot? Oh,
Yeah, I saw a lot of Wookie Foot shows.
They were so much fun. And then if you want to talk about like not necessarily the best part of the hip hop scene, but the hip hop scene that got the most attention in the late 90s, we can't forget Next and Too Close. They're from South St. Paul. And I got plenty of family in South St. Paul, so I'm all about cranking up Next and Too Close. The second band that I had ever seen live open and close with the same song. That's a throwback to an earlier episode.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some recos. Roll around one at a time here. I'll jump out first. I recently found a documentary from a few years ago called The Yes Men, because I love sticking it to the man, and when I say that, I mean like really the man. I'm not saying like screw over your little local businesses, but the big corporate globalization people. And that's exactly what this movie. It's a documentary. You can find it on Pluto TV for free. But it's these group of guys that are anti-corporate globalization. They do a lot of hilarious things. Back in 2000, they had a George Bush website because they were able to buy up gwbush.com instead of georgewbush.com, and did a lot of funny things there. But in this movie, they're intentionally impersonating the World Trade Organization, the WTO, and getting invited to conferences to speak on things. There's a very hilarious scene about regurgitating food and taking waste and turning it into food, and yeah, it's it's concerning. It's hilarious, but it's also concerning in seeing the way some of these big corporate CEOs don't really mind any of this these crazy ideas, but a fun documentary nonetheless, and something that I think is very important in this day and age. So you can find it for free on Pluto TV. Yeah. Missy, I know we kind of threw you into the ringer here, but do you have a recommendation for us this week?
Last night I watched the Tina Turner documentary on HBO. Really good. I mean, I'm so intrigued by her. I mean, she's one of the great voices. So has anyone seen What Love Got to Do with It? The movie with
Yep.
Gosh, I'm tired, so I can't think of names right now.
Angela Bassett and Larry
Angela
Fishburne.
Bassett, yeah.
And I was gonna say,
and Cowboy Curtis.
Yeah.
What's Lawrence Fishburne? Okay, so I would say actually that movie was like kind of chronologically was actually pretty accurate to the documentary. Just kind of how things kind of laid out, like but the violence was pretty terrible in the movie, but it didn't even come close to the real deal. It was just I was trying to lesson plan while I was watching this, and of course I didn't get anything done because it was so intriguing, and just her strength and just how she. And what was most interesting to me is that when she came out with Private Dancer, she was 44 years old, and it's like I'm 41, so it's like when I'm feeling like I'm done, when I'm feeling like tired. I just have to tell myself, you know what? Tina Turner came out with Private Dancer when she was 44, and she looked like that, and she danced like that. And you know what? I still got some work to do, I can't get too cozy. I gotta do something here.
That's funny.
I get that.
Nice.
On HBO. You said it's on HBO Max?
HBO. It just came out like on Saturday night.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really like kind of rock and roll documentaries, all sorts of documentaries, but Tina Turner is like, it's just a 101 and strength and resilience. Yeah.
You know what? We should start a petition to get her as the musical guest for the season finale of Saturday Night Live. I think that'd be
she's like 81 now.
She still performs though, right?
I don't know.
I bet she could do an acoustic performance. Somebody behind her playing guitar.
That wouldn't be right. She needs to, she has to dance, right?
I get it. Even at 81.
Maybe we have her come out in a wheelchair, and then she stands up and flips it back and then starts dancing. Reveals that she doesn't need the wheelchair. It was all a ruse.
She rips open her shirt and there's a Superman symbol.
It's all planned.
Ryan,
do you have a first recommendation for us?
Yeah, so there were a couple things. I mean, so first off, we watched so many movies over the course of this sickness. It was crazy. And all classics. We watched all the Christopher Guest movies. I mean, we watched Spinal Tap, Waiting for Guffman, and Best in Show. Nice. And we watched I talked about last week, I think, watching the Snyder Cut. That got its hooks into me enough where I wanted to go back and watch Batman versus Superman. So I watched that, the Ultimate Edition, the 3-hour version of that. And then we also watched The Dark Knight. And then I watched Phantom Thread randomly. I slept through a lot of that, but I've seen that movie 10 times. It's kind of like a comfort movie for me, so I just love that movie so much. But the things that I have been eating.
Yes.
Number one, MTV's Catfish. I don't know if you all are familiar with this show.
Is it
Give us a brief rundown.
wasn't there a movie called Catfish? Is
There
it kind
was,
of like
yes.
that?
It is
So
exactly
is it like
that.
basically
It's the
like
same
tricking people?
Yes. So here's the concept. It's about these two guys who, each episode, there's a new case or whatever that they get. People will email them and request that they come like help them on their case. And it's like, hey, team, my name is Jimmy, and I've been in a relationship with Samantha for the last 3 years. But every time I try to meet her, like, online,
relationship.
every time I try to
course.
meet her, she always comes up with some crazy excuse at the last second why she can't
For 3
meet me.
years.
Like, and so I'm starting to think that she's not real. Like, can you
After
help me
3
get to the
years.
bottom of this? And so, like, they'll come meet up with that person, and like they'll get all the details from them about like how their relationship started, the history of their relationship, and then they'll go internet sleuthing to try to find like this person's actual information, and they'll take if they get their phone number, they'll try to trace their phone number and figure out where it's from. And then they, once they figure it out, they'll contact the person and be like, hey, this is Neve and Max from Catfish. We're talking with, Jimmy, and we want to meet with you. Would you be okay if we came to your place and met with you? And they're like, generally say yes, because they're already busted at that point, and
So does it always end up being like a completely different person?
not always.
Okay.
It's
Mostly.
there's like different. It's not as formulaic as you'd think it would be. It's like, it's not like every time it's some like pervy 40-year-old dude. It is
No.
It's like, there are some times where it's like, there's been a couple I've seen where it's been like somebody who's recently transitioned, and they're like still trying, they're not comfortable yet, like expressing themselves
Right.
in person, and so they find this like online persona, and that's kind of the way they are able to find love like that. And
Right,
even though it's
right.
like,
So
it really sucks for the person who like doesn't know that it's not this guy who looks like Ashton Kutcher.
right.
It's actually this 19-year-old trans dude.
Right.
But
But it's about at least it, like you said, it's not all just like
it's tragic
tragic story after tragic story. where
They're all
just-
they're all like really captivating, and like it's kind of, I told Becky, like, it's like a mix between CSI and 90 Day Fiance, but it's better than that even. I don't know. It's just, and maybe it's just my fever brain, but I've been like, I just randomly, like, I had seen the movie when it came out like a decade ago. And then, I knew there was a show now. I've seen like maybe an episode at some point in my life. It's been on for 8 seasons now. At least that's what's on Hulu.
You've
But it's been on
You've
for a
talked me
long
into it.
time. And I just was like scrolling through Hulu, like looking for a show to watch, and I came upon Catfish, and I was like, what the hell? And I just went to season 6 because I figured there's 8 seasons, I'll start it kind of on one of the newer ones.
Let it get its feet under
Let's
it.
get deep, yeah. And it was like, I haven't really wanted to watch much else except for the other show I'm going to mention in my reviews.
No, you've talked to me again. I'm not usually into MTV shows, so you know,
This one's quality.
I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna give it a chance. Also on Hulu. So my second and last recommendation. I love my stupid adult cartoons where they swear and have weird themes. I discovered a show called Solar Opposites, and its second season just came out. It's again an animated sitcom about a alien family that takes refuge on Earth because their planet got destroyed. I don't know. I don't know if this comes up in the second season, but they're not the only survivors of their planet. Just everybody went to a different planet. They all got shot out in different directions, but and they hate Earthlings, but they're stuck here. It's interesting, and there's also I always love a good weird B story, and the B story to this entire series is one of the aliens is constantly shrinking people and then putting them in his he's got like essentially a gigantic hamster society built into the wall of their house. So there's like different levels and rulers of it's an interesting show. It's fun, and again, I love a good R-rated cartoon. So if you like R-rated cartoons that are a little bit more thought-provoking than your Family Guy, check out Solar Opposites on Hulu. I don't know if either of you guys heard of that show?
I've seen it on Hulu. I mean, I've seen it advertised.
Right. I saw.
Right.
Yes, it like pops up on the screen.
Give it a chance. Missy, was there one more recommendation, or did that was your big one?
We've gotten like
I just didn't want to skip you.
We've gotten 2 episodes into a show called Woke. With Lamorne Morris from New Girl, Winston from New Girl.
Jen loves New Girl.
It's pretty good so far. Like, it's kind of an original premise. He, like, I would say casting wise, like, he was a really good choice for this role. So he's a cartoonist who's got a really popular cartoon. And he kind of plays it pretty safe. He doesn't get political. He doesn't talk about race until an event comes, and he's experienced a bit of adversity when it comes to his race, and then it just kind of, it's like a floodgate, now this whole world is open up to him as far as like applying politics and race to his work, and. It's actually, it's pretty funny, and it's but it approaches kind of an interesting topic in kind of a really entertaining way. Yeah.
Nice.
And I always liked him in New Girl.
Once you get past episode 3, usually you're pretty golden if you got a success right there. So, hey. We'll have to check that out. Ryan, I'm excited. I know you got one more that you've already shared a little bit with me. I'm about 20 minutes into that first episode, and so sorry. I will let you go.
So, my second recommendation is a comedy show. It's called Monster Factory, and it's brought to you by the McElroy brothers, who, if you've ever heard of My Brother and Me, that's their podcast. They do I think they do a couple other podcasts too, Adventure Zone or something like that. But they, 2 of the 3 brothers host this show, and it's just their voices. On the screen, you just see the video game they're playing. And each week, they pick a different game that has the function where you can create your own player. and they only like pick games where it has like really intricate, you know, like you can like adjust the size of the eyeballs and like how wide the mouth is and how
I
far
love it when games have that.
Totally.
You
That's
can like customize things.
so I mean they have like 50 episodes, so they've played like a shitload of these
Funny.
games. But so they'll spend probably like the first I'd say probably 2/3 of the episode making the character, and then the last third of the episode playing the game with the character or like exploring the world of the game with the character. And they always, I mean, it's called Monster Factory for a reason. They usually make somebody who's super fucked up looking and like kind of scary. But
I finally get to be a video game character.
So where do you find that show? I'm like curious about it.
it's on YouTube.
Okay,
It's
YouTube, okay.
really, really funny. The McElroy brothers are hilarious. And like my brother and me, I feel like I may have mentioned that on this show before. It's one of my favorite. It's one of the podcasts I listen to every week. But Monster Factory is the two brothers I like the most from the show. And I've just been like loving this so much. I laugh so hard. I mean, I've been like sick as a fucking dog, like wrapped in blankets, just like laughing so hard I can't breathe, and like afraid I'm gonna like wake Becky up on the recliner because like it's like just so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll stop there. But
No,
it's incredible.
again, having gotten it was an episode that was split into parts, so I'm about a third of the way through the episode, and it's absolutely fantastic. And Ryan, you gave a absolutely perfect description there. So, yeah, it's very funny. Missy, you will very much enjoy it. I think probably Chris will too. So, cool. That wraps it up. We're about a little more than halfway through the first half of that Prince tournament, and I haven't agreed with every result, but it has been a damn fun tournament so far. Missy, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your expertise. No. Again, because
it's a strong word.
It was so much fun to talk about these songs and what could have been, and all these different great local bands. No, really, really appreciate it. Taking the time out of your busy day.
Yeah, it's fun.
Jen is a teacher herself. We know how important your time is, and how important you are for all of us and all of our people with kids and everything. So again, we just appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ryan, I really hope you get better soon. I know you're on the up and up, but a speedy recover to you.
Thank you.
Can you now talk for 20 more minutes?
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Now you have to sing. This is the singing portion.
Yeah, that I could not do. Blood would start pouring out of my mouth.
You don't have to be beautiful. I'm just kidding. All right. Thank you guys all, and thank you everybody out there for listening, and for all of us here in the Pop Tournaments universe. Please keep on voting and keep on popping.
Pop.
Yeah.
Adios.
Oh.